Now, why exactly should you watch this review of the 2025 Rolex Explorer reference 224270? Well, I'm going to reveal some small details to you today that I have not seen covered in a single review to date, and I have watched a lot of them. But rest assured, I'm not here to pick on Rolex. I have bought this one with my own money, and I very much feel it is the perfect watch for me. There is a stigma around this brand, for sure. But I am coming at this from the point of view of someone that loves wristwatches, and I am an admirer of Rolex's many significant achievements over the last 120 years. I think it was Fratello that wrote that Rolex does boring better than anyone else, and I couldn't agree more. In fact, another boring watch I absolutely loved was the Tudor Ranger, and I hovered over a purchase button many times, but finally decided to save up for the real thing, which I consider this to be. An excellent homage from Boltony was my trial run, and I loved that a bit too much, so once again, proof that I should stretch. Finally, a big inspiration for me were 3 trips to Nepal over the last few years. One of those to Everest Base Camp on the 70-year anniversary of the Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary expedition, which was famously equipped with oyster perpetual chronometers, like many other expeditions were as well at that time. But of course, before you fire up your fingertips to comment, there was a Smith's watch on Hillary's wrist, so Rolex can't exactly claim this one, but that's another story, and unverified claims state Tenzing wore a Rolex. Anyway, later in that year of 1953, Rolex launched one of its first professional watches, the Explorer. So I'm going to cover off a few things today, which will include the unusual feel of this crown, the seemingly lack of adequate bracelet adjustment, an interesting detailed purchase, the faff required changing the bracelet to a strap, this size of, on paper at least 40mm, which is a whole 4mm larger than the classic 36 and doesn't work. I'm going to get right up close to the dial with tons of Lume shots, I'll show you this watch on a few strap options, and reveal some unexpected details, and also why this is likely both my first and last Rolex. You'll hear all this from an owner that intend to leave this to my kids and grandkids, someone that both respects the brand and want to keep them honest. And you'll have chapter markers throughout this video to go back and forth if you wish. I have noticed people complaining about these new watch boxes from Rolex. I am fine with it being basically a plastic green box, and whilst it would be fun to see some nods to the immense history and achievements of Rolex around the outer box perhaps, you could argue that there is no need. The packaging speaks for itself, and you do get a model-specific manual or in a separate little shelf within the box. Warranty cards and tags are also very nice to my eyes at least. The purist among us would already have dismissed the sizing here, but let's take a look. This is the 2025 40mm version, right? But no matter what angle I measure or how I twist and turn my calipers, it is in fact 39mm. It reminds me a bit of the Submariner controversial increase to 1mm on paper, which turned out to be 0.4mm in real life. Lug to lug is 46.6mm, and lug width is a slightly inconvenient but brilliant proportions of 21mm. Thickness is 11.5mm exactly, and sized up for me, with no links removed, which I will come back to, it weighs in at 141.5 grams. Water resistance is 100 meters and warranty is 5 years. The sizing discrepancy is really very strange, like why invite controversy about growing model diameters and stating on the website that it's 40mm in diameter when it clearly is absolutely not. I wanted to get an older 39 because it's a better size in my opinion, so the fact that I did with this better size bracelet is a bonus to me and I couldn't be happier. But is it dishonest to willfully have the wrong diameter on the website? As in, why even do this in a world where accuracy is so important? It's so strange to me. Anyway, let's get closer to this dial. The glossy black is stunning. The print is perfection all around from a brand that doesn't shy away from lines of text. The superlative chronometer and officially certified means both COSC and Rolex certification after casing. The logo at just under 12 has the words Oyster Perpetual, which is an old initiative of Rolex creating their own words for water resistance and ocean worthy, i.e. like an oyster that perfectly shuts underwater, and perpetual relating to a watch movement that's powered by its owner's movement alone. So yes, a lot of words, but a fair amount of history here too. The hands are perhaps not quite as crisp and flawless as what Grand Seiko achieves, and if you look incredibly close, I found a black bit of dust in the lume on the 6 and some not quite perfect edges here and there. These applied indices are very good, but certainly not the best I've seen. I'm okay with this, but it is also the most expensive watch I've ever bought in my life, so I think it would be fair to expect absolute perfection and not 98% there. I will come back to the lume a bit later though. It is astonishingly good. Covering all this is, perhaps not surprisingly, a sapphire crystal that is very nice. It does reflect quite a bit, but I don't hate that to be honest. The fixed bezel is obviously polished and will absolutely not stay that way since I intend to wear this and not baby it. I have zero interest in safe queens, and this is a watch built to be worn and used. You can have it repolished when servicing comes around in 10 years, and we'll see how I feel then, but as you can already see in the video, small scratches have appeared already. The voluptuous case sides is a favorite of mine with Rolex. They are nice and smooth to touch and feel almost organic in their form. Sure, there is a slight different feel to the 904L oyster steel that Rolex uses, which, despite the brand's posturing about being better than 316L stainless steel that the industry uses, is likely just a tad more resistant to chemicals, but I don't want to start any arguments here. Rolex use their own alloy and it is 100% made in Switzerland, whatever the internet will have you believe, and whoops, I probably started an argument. I absolutely agree with Adrian at Bark & Jack's excellent video that discussed this model's proportions. The 21mm adds a bit of girth to this model overall, and to my eyes, this is a perfect design. The crown is an example to me of a brand with so much history and iteration. It feels like nothing else I've handled. It pops nicely, but only slightly. It feels good winding it, almost like a combination of some of Seiko's no feel at all and Sellita's heavy resistance feel. Just perfect in the middle happy medium. Despite being quite slim, it is easy to grip and so small that no protection would be required here, and a slight push and screw back in. It's truly a luxury feel that's clearly been perfected over many generations. Signed with not just a crown, but the crown for us watch people. Flipping the watch over, we find a canvas ripe for engraving, and also newsflash too to me. You'll need a pin and not fork to remove these bracelets since there's only a tiny little hole here, so you want to be cautious for many reasons doing this. Behind the unbranded case back is the very impressive 3230 movement, which I would love to see, but this is how it is with most Rolex watches. It has a power reserve of 70 hours and it's regulated to -2 to +2 seconds per day. Mine is so far spot on. It hacks and hand winds obviously, and it has no less than a paramagnetic blue parachrome hairspring, chrono energy escapement, and high-performance Paraflex shock absorbers. In English, that means it is a tough movement that will resist both sudden shocks and magnetic fields. I've watched plenty of videos of people restoring Rolex movements and waxing lyrical about the genius of their approaches, and to be honest, one of my biggest motivations for buying a Rolex was to have one of their amazing movements on my wrist. I've said many times in my videos that nobody makes better bracelets than Rolex and their sister company Tudor. Not that I've handled all bracelets in the world, but at least a few hundred I'd say, and on watches priced at over $200,000, and this is still pure perfection. The lugs that flow so nicely into the bracelet starts at 21 width as mentioned, and the bracelet tapers down to about 16.4mm, and the buckle is 18.5mm wide, and it is a comfortable wear I feel. Interestingly, there is not a single extra link supply with the watch, so if your wrist is bigger than mine, You actually have to buy an extra one to make it fit or have the extension permanently deployed. I pity the shop salesperson that will have to crack that message to a new customer with meaty wrists. We also get the male end links, so if you have a much smaller wrist than mine, you'll definitely want to try this one on before buying. The screws are incredibly flush, and whilst we don't get the glide lock here but only what is described as the EasyLink comfort extension link, there are luckily 3 slots to move that bit within the clasp, so I did eventually get my perfect fit after some faff. The clasp includes the hinge trigger with its little ball bearing that ensures that when your clasp is shut, it's also secure. And with another Rolex crown no less too. It's very attractive when all shut, and we'll see how that crown holds up over time, I suppose. The holes are quite deeply set in the case, which limits the straps I can show you today. But a few of my straps fit pretty well, and at least you'll get a feel for how good this watch looks even without the bracelet. As you may be aware, Rolex use their own developed Lume in chromolite with long-lasting blue luminescence. It's some of, if not the best Lume I've ever seen, and it is incredibly bright when fully charged. So why is this my first and also last Rolex? Well, to be honest, price is one issue. I have many interests in life, and paying just over 12,000 Australian dollars for this was a stretch. And it's even gone up another $1,000 on the 1st of July this year. That's a solid holiday or some serious house renovation money. Not to mention some incredible camera equipment, and none of that is a joke. But the other part is this. I love the tool watches of Rolex, but all the gaudy and showy part of this brand with people buying it to appear wealthy and wanting gold and diamonds and all that rubbish is just not my thing at all. I hate that people may judge me for wearing this and hence buying probably the most modest model of them all, which was all to do with respecting the brand and its history, and of course that they hold their value extremely well. The other aspect is that just once in my life I wanted to own a Rolex, which I do now. But to be honest, that is a far more attainable and perhaps justifiable goal than wanting a Porsche 911 that wouldn't even make it halfway up my hilltop fortress of solitude here in Tasmania. This watch is going to come with me on the many holidays we have planned to Patagonia, Svalbard, of course Japan again, more diving where I may leave this in a hotel safe, and hopefully much more. So let's see how it goes. And if you have any questions now or even 5 or 15 years after this video was uploaded, if I'm still alive, I will answer them. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.